What's going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Trade Talk video. It's Wednesday, which means it is Trade Talk time. We're going to go through all the popular moves that coaches are making ahead of round 9. Intriguing week of trades this week with buys really creeping up close to us now. So it's round 9. Obviously, buys start in round 12. So we've only got, 2 for this week, 2 for round 10, 2 for round 11, and then 3. So we've got 9 trades left before the buy. 9 trades, is that right? 2 for... No, hang on. 2... crap, bad maths here. We got 2 in round 9, 2 in round 10, 2 in round 11, so that's 6. So you got 9. Yes, I was correct the first time. I just thought I got it wrong. Don't know why. But anyway, we digress from that. We'll move on. But yeah, 9 trades left before buys start. So we really need to be thinking about our buy structures here. So when you're bringing in players, make sure that you're not heavy with premiums or anything in any line. And for all the sort of new coaches out there that this is their first year, because there are a few people that watch these videos that it is their first year fantasy with the buys. It's your best 18 scorers from your on-field 22 that play. Obviously, each of the buy rounds will be teams missing. So round 12, you got 4. Round 13, you got 2, which is a good buy. And then round 14 to 15, you go 6 and 6. So make sure that your buys are sort of all in check. So that's what we're going to be considering with that. But some of these guys, maybe just got to bring them in for the sake of it. So let's go through the most traded in players at this stage. So at number 1, we got Blake Drury, which isn't really a surprise. He was a basement rookie last week. He scored 53 in his first game. Looked pretty good. I watched this game and he did look good. So I did actually turn it off midway through the third. Well, sort of at halftime. I didn't want to watch it anymore because Jack still was stinking up. But for the first half, he looked pretty good. And yeah, 53, only went up to 21k, but break even to 6. I think he's in their best 22. Just here, the injury preseason, he would have been playing, I think, round 1 if it wasn't for that. And so I just think he's got good job security, and we need these rookies with good job security over the buys. You can't be bringing in guys that may play one game and get dropped, because then you may have to fix them at the buys. So I think Drew's a good target. He's not going to be a big scorer. I think he's going to be anywhere from probably 35 to 60, I think, most weeks. I don't see him scoring much more than 60, but he's still a good target, I think. And at essentially basement 221k, great target, mid-forward as well. So I do like him this week. The Rat, Roy Atkins, is next. 8,500 coaches bring him in. I didn't actually say over nearly 13,000 coaches are bringing in Drury. But yeah, 8,500 people bring in Roy Atkins. I'm just concerned with Atkins because he had 8 turnovers in his 22 disposals on the weekend. So that's essentially over a third of his disposals were turned over. Again, could that have been kick-ins where he kicks long and then maybe an intercept mark from Melbourne that counts as turnover? So I'm not exactly sure in terms of turnovers, but apparently people were saying that he did turn over a couple late. I did watch the game, I just didn't sort of notice at the time. People said he turned a couple of balls over late, so that's a little bit concerning. The fact that Weller isn't going to be playing this week is probably a good thing for Roy Atkins. He'll probably stay in the side. Obviously, he's still a pretty good price at 447k, break even a -2. He's going to make good cash even if he's in for a fortnight maybe. If you're bringing him in, you're obviously taking a risk. That's what you're doing, but you will be making cash on it. So the worst case scenario, he'll give you a solid score this week. He's got a good match against West Coast, and then he'll potentially, if he's dropped next week, he would have made you maybe 50k, which is still not bad. You're still getting cash generation, so at worst you can sort of fall on that. So I don't mind it if you're willing to take that risk. At this stage, I don't think I will be taking the risk personally, but I still don't mind it. Josh Fahey, obviously 4K coach bring him in. Hasn't been announced to debut yet. Obviously, it's only Wednesday, so I'm sure that we might have heard something today. Obviously, I'm recording this Tuesday night, but if we do hear something from throughout the day tomorrow or even Thursday about a debut, then obviously great. He'll probably be number 1. He'll probably go above Drury, and people will just try and save the 20k. I'm probably for getting Drury in this week and then getting Fahey next week, unless you need someone on your field. I think I'd rather field Fahey than Drury. I still wouldn't field either. I wouldn't field Fahey straight up in game 1. I'd want to see him for a week first, because what's to say that he doesn't, this is hypothetically if he does play, because we're sort of anticipating maybe if Angwin's out, he comes in. If Fahey does play, what's to say that he's not going to get subbed in the 3rd or 4th quarter, just because maybe he's not having as much of an impact. So this is against Collingwood, sort of tough game. So I'd try and loop him on, but I think that I'm just going to have a look at the fixture on my phone. I think the Giants Collingwood game is a game later. It's Saturday night. No, sorry, it's the final game of the round. So you can't loop him either. So you're going to be relying on him on field without looping. So I guess if you can loop someone on your bench, and if they don't score well enough, you could play him. Maybe that could be a play. But yeah, I still like him in target. I'd rather get Drury this week and then Faye next week. But if you need that cash, then I guess Faye would be a good option. Tom Green, 2.8k coach to bring him in. I just don't think I can justify paying up for him now. Obviously, I'm an owner, so that's obviously all well and good. I can say that, but 962k, I think that's priced around that 113 mark. He's going to make cash. He's break-even 64 there, so he's going to be going up. So you're not going to, if you haven't got him now, you're not going to be getting him, I don't think, unless you pay up for him. Averaging 120, obviously that big score last week does inflate it a little bit. Obviously he had a very good run before that. Obviously only the one score under 100, only two scores under 110. So he's been ultra consistent. 210k, 962 when you've got other targets, and I'm going to be talking about later, that are cheaper. And I think I would probably rather save the cash at this point. And as well, the other thing you've got to remember, he's got the round 15 bye, and a lot of coaches are already stacked on that round 15 bye. So if you're trading him in, you may already be stacked on that. So you have to look at that as well. So yeah, again, if you want to pay up for him, he's a great player, good get, and you'll be very happy with him in your side. Yeah, I'm just saying that 962k is a lot of money to be spending on a player at this time of the year, when you can be saving a little bit of cash and maybe going with a few options that I'm sure we'll speak about in a sec. Braden Fiorini, another good option. Good matchup this week. He went up, what did he go up last week? He got an 89. He went up 44k, so he went up a solid amount. It's saying here projected score 81, gets breaking 34. It's saying you go up around that 38k mark. So if he gets another 80 this week, he's going to be 640 next week or 650. So, and if he goes bigger than that, then he could be more. So I think good role. Well, sorry, not good role. He's in the team. That's what I should say. He's in the team, which is good. The role isn't amazing, but the fact that he's that winger that sort of pushes to the contest and the stoppages and gets disposals that way. He did have some CBAs in the first half. I don't know why they sort of took him out of the CBAs in the first half. The second half he had 0. So he had all 6 in the first half. So he was in there a little bit, and then in the second half they just didn't want to play him there. So I don't know if that's a rotation, if he's in the CBAs first half and then they don't want him in the second half. I'm not sure, but I was impressed with the fact that his time on ground went up to 82%, which was up from the 70s in the 3 weeks before. So that's a good sign that if he's being trusted for more game time, then clearly he's doing something right. So I like him as a target, but this is the final week, I think, to get him. West Coast's a good matchup, so if you want to get that, as the Pod Pop boys always like to say, if you want to get that sugar hit, you're going to have to get him this week, because he has got a few tougher games, like Brisbane, Bulldogs, Crows. I think Crows have been a little bit more restricted, but I'm not sort of afraid of that. But it's the TIO stadium maybe that could be a bit of a factor there. But yeah, you want to get him this week because he'll be pretty expensive next week. So I don't mind him still. I like him still this week if you want to jump on him. Andrew Brayshaw, so 917k, had his biggest score of the year with 157. Obviously, we know he can do that. He's got a great ceiling. And first 2 games good, last 2 games be good. It was just that middle patch of that month there where he only had the one score over 100 and he didn't score really well in that month. So he's value, right? So he's value. I'm just concerned. So a lot of people are sort of saying, Brayshaw, great target, bring him in. I'm a little bit concerned because of how well he played last week. It's actually been talked about in the media how well he played. He's got Sydney this week at the SCG. So we know Sydney a tough matchup on their day. It's at the SCG, which is even tougher. And I would anticipate he'll get the row bottom tag, potentially the Ryan Clark tag. We don't know exactly who will go to him. So I expect him to cop some attention this week. And whether that is, from Clark or from row bottom, that would be my concern. So, I'm not exactly sure with him bringing him in this week, especially because he's got the round 12 bye as well. I think he's a great target here. Richmond in round 13 is a great matchup, so you can really cash in on that. Geelong as well at Optus Stadium. Does he get an O'Connor tag or an Atkins tag? 'Cause Atkins went to Rory Laird last week, and O'Connor's done a job or two in the past. So I'd be concerned about potential attention there, and there are other names I would rather, I think, this week over Brayshaw. But in saying that, he's a good option, I think, still, if you're willing to sort of bank on that maybe he doesn't get that attention, because he is value. Jack Zeeble is next on the list. 1.8k coaches are bringing him in. 821k is a lot more expensive than what he was. Obviously, that monster score last week. low break even. He's only going to be going up in cash, averaging 104. Poor Sydney, Collingwood, tough matchups to come. I'm sort of in two minds. Is it point chasing or is he going to be a top 6? Because I'm not sure he's going to be a top 6. I hope he is. Roy's obviously got him in the rolling 22, but before that game, his high score was 109 and he only had the 300. So it's not like he was absolutely smashing it with 110s. That was sort of obviously one out of the park, which we know that he can do. So I think he's still a good. I think he still will be in and amongst the top 6 or 8 sort of defenders or forwards, depending on which line. I think it'd be more forwards. I think he'd fall into. I think the top 6 defenders are almost sort of set there. So Zeeble, I think he will be in and amongst that. And at worst, you're going to hold him. He's going to make cash. So I don't mind jumping on him. 821 is still not that expensive considering some of the options around that price. And you're going to be getting, he's going to be making money. So I don't mind jumping on him. It's just that it's obviously a lot more expensive than what he was. He's gone up, 284k. So you sort of got to, you bring him in now to really be that top 6 or 6 to 8 defender or forward, because you're not want to bring him in just to make cash, because you can just get guys that are cheaper. Harry Sharp, 1.7k coach to bring him in. I just don't see him staying in the team long term, unfortunately. Got a 56, which is good. It's good to see him get a game. He's been in the system for a couple of years now, so it's good to see him. Or did he get drafted last year? Or was it the year before? I can't remember. It was either last year or the year before he got drafted. But it's good to see him get a game, though. 56, which is good. What was his time on ground like? I haven't actually looked at this. 78%, that's not bad. If he holds his spot, again, he's a downgrade target. With 56, he's probably going to score more than Drury. So if you want a guy that's going to score more, I think Harry Sharp has got the ability to score more in a better team. But has he got better job security? Probably not. I think Drury's got the better job security. But it's pretty much what you want, really. He's got the round 12 bye, so depends really what you need there. But Harry Sharp, not bad there. And then Callum Mills as well, 1.6k coach to bring him in. Now, he's a guy that I potentially would jump on. Mills or Brayshaw, that's the tough one. I think I'd still rather Brayshaw, but the fact that he's 100 and something, he's about 100 or so K cheaper than Brayshaw. Yeah, he's 114k cheaper than Brayshaw. So could you jump on Mills instead of Brayshaw? I wouldn't get both, because you're going to want a midfield target to get in round 12, round 13 coming off the round 12 bye. He's got a good run coming up. Freo, North Melbourne, Carlton are good matchups. That North Melbourne at Marvel could be big as well. So, yeah, I like him. I'm still not sold on the fact that he's going to be a full-time mid. Well, he hasn't been a full-time mid anyway. He's been that 6%. But is that going to stay, that 60% time in the midfield, or is he going to just go back? That's the one concerning thing. But we know for a fact if he's got that midfield role, he can put, I think he's priced around 94 or something like that. He can put 16, 20 points on that easily. Like, we've seen him average 115 for a prolonged period. So at that value, I like him as a target. I really do. And I do think that he's in the midfield, and I think he will be staying in there more now. The fact that Sydney have struggled, they need to start getting wins on the board if they want to stay in this finals hunt. So I would anticipate he's going to be more in the midfield, especially with maybe a Melican potentially coming in this week for Sydney. I think he might be close. If not, he is available. So yeah, I do like Mills an option. Alex Chincott, if you haven't jumped on him, I'd be jumping on negative 12 break even, really cheap. So, not really cheap. He's 371 now, but I think if you haven't jumped on him, I would still think he's still the best rookie target. I'd still pay up for him because he's an on-field option for you guys to put on field. So, yeah, if you haven't gone on him, which there is still 55% or just over 55% that haven't jumped on him. So I would be still getting, because he's going to make some good cash. He's got round 15 bowl, which is great as well. He's got the max amount of time to make cash, and you can probably offload him at round 15 and get in a better player. So I like Chincotta as an option if you haven't jumped on, but this is the final week to jump on him. You're not paying over 400k for Chincotta anymore. You've got to jump on him this week. Dylan Williams, now, I don't mind jumping on him. I've heard obviously a few people speaking that he is expensive, 367. I still think I would rather pay and get Drury and save the cash. But if you need an on-field option, I would definitely rather Dylan Williams on-field over Blake Drury, right? Negative 5 break-even is going to make cash quicker than Drury because he's got a lower break-even. He's got a good run, North Melbourne at Blundstone, which that might be tricky. Melbourne, Richmond, Hawthorn, Bulldogs, which we know give up points to defend. So he's got a nice 5-week run here. So if he's obviously named as well. I think he's got good job security. He's played, how many games in a row? Yeah, he's played 5 games in a row. This game he was sub. I don't know why he was named the sub there, but since he's come back in, he's scored a decent race. It's like he was on track probably plays a full game, 55 in this game here. And then he's got, 6, 7, 92. Again, obviously a couple of good matchups there, but if you want to pay up for someone to play him on field, I think he'll still make some good cash. And how many people jumped on him? 3, just over 3%. So he's unique as well. But yeah, if you want to do that. Will Power, I'm very, very interested in this week. He's just looked great the last 2 weeks. West Coast, I'm looking forward to this potential matchup at Optus Stadium. I think that Gold Coast, we've seen a change in game style. They're chipping it around a bit more, and Powell is at the forefront of that chipping around the back. So these games here, if you look at this, 64% and scored a 79, right? So if that was him ease back. I don't even know what. Oh, no, hang on. That was, he had a HIA test, I think. So he was off the ground for like 15 minutes. So if he had that on, he's scoring probably around that 100 mark there. So it's essentially 300s in a row. That the 49 against Freo is a little bit strange, but we know that Freo can be restricted because they did chip the ball around, so that could be why. And even the 86 against St Kilda, he was eased in these 2 games here, so his scoring's been pretty good in every game. It just looks obviously a little bit skewed there, so I really like him as an option, and I'll talk about him later with my potential trades. Low break even, he went up, 59k last week, and his break even was around that 20 mark. So if he scores another 100 again, he's going to be 700k next week, and with that round 30 bye, which is great, I really like that, and at worst, he's going to make you probably another 100 or so K, and you better offload him either in his buy or hopefully, best case scenario, after buys, you can go him to if you don't have a Dawson, if you don't have been a long day. Doherty, he'll be a big target because Doherty's got round 15 buy, so if you want to go Power to Doherty in round 15, if you've got all your rookies off ground, that's a play. But then again, Power, if he keeps going at this rate, could be a top 6 defender. I don't think he will be, but just saying, the way he's going, he's looking really good. So I like him as a target. Max Gawn, if you're trying to offload, if Marshall is out, I don't think he will be. It sounds like he'll be fine. But if he is, he's an option to go down to. He's a cheap price. He loves playing Hawthorn as well. Obviously been solo ruck in those scenarios, but has a good history against them. I think he averages near 120 against Hawthorn. Yeah, 123. Wow. Jeez. Big average there. So, not a bad option. And Noah Anderson, Dunkley, English, Goulden, people are jumping on these guys. Chera's there as well. Some big scores. I think he's a bit too expensive now. And then also McPherson's there, which he's probably too expensive for me now as well. We're paying up for him. But he's looked good. If you want to get him, you're banking on him. He's going to be a top 6 or so defender. Let's get through the most traded out players. Fergus Green, tick, get rid. Like you can trade him out now. 6 points last week, got subbed out. I don't know if that was injury affected or not, but yeah, he's really slowed in price now. He's last 2 scores at 18 and 6 really halt that because he got the back-to-back 70s before. So you can thank him for his service with the 270. With the 270s there. You can thank him for that, which really got a lot of that cash in. But how much did he go down last week? 25k. So he's starting to dip, 70 break even. Yeah, definitely time to go. Will Setterfield, I think it's time for him to go as well. 5.8k coach to trading him out. Brisbane at the Gabba, tough matchup. He had 0 CBAs last week. As Warney said on the Traders podcast, he's like most people picked him up for around that 700-ish K mark, and he's dropping, and he's nearly going to be at the price a lot of coaches picked him up for. So I'd be trading him now, getting that little cash bump, and you can get him to a Mills, 53k, cost you nothing. You can get Brayshaw for 167k or something like that. So yeah, I'd be moving Setterfield on as well. And actually, it was interesting that probably the guys I'd be one of my top trade takes this week was he wasn't in the most trade-in players this week, which is surprising because I would relook at him this week, which I'll talk about him in my top 5 targets when we finish through these. Darcy Wilmot, time to go. Round 12 buy as well, which is also a positive, getting rid of him because he's only got a few games to the buy. He's obviously dropped a couple of K, only 34, but if you look at 2 of his last 3, 22 and 34, 2 of his lowest scores for the year. Really, if you take out the 260s, he's only gone over 50 twice. So, but then again, you could say take out all the games, and then he hasn't done bad. But yeah, so Wilmot, time to go. I'm happy to trade him. Kay Chandler, same thing, happy to trade him. I know the Hawthorn matchup's out at the MCG, and I know he does like playing at the MCG, but 37, you just can't take that risk because if he has a poor game, we know that Hawthorn try and make the games contested. So I'm not sure. I don't think I'd be keeping him. I think I'd be trading. If you can get him up to someone better, I'd be definitely trading. Ruben Jinby. So 64% for a 60. He's scoring at a good rate when he's playing. Like, he's on track for good scores. It's just obviously we know that they're managing him through. I'm hoping that maybe it starts getting a little bit more of a bump in game time just because he's had a dip here of obviously low game time, obviously subbed out there, really low game time. I'm hoping that because he's had a month or so of being managed, maybe they might start upping his game above that 70%, maybe 75%, but I still do think they will manage him through, unfortunately. So breaking into 59, you don't have to get rid of him because he's scoring at a good rate, scoring better than most rookies, even with limited time. And he's best 22. So you don't have to trade him. But again, if he's your worst rookie on field, you upgrade them. It's this time of the year where we're trying to get rid of these rookies. So, I still think I'd get rid of Chandler and Wilmot before Jinby. Just because Wilmot hasn't got the scoring capacity that Jinby does. And Chandler is worth a lot more, or about 50, 60 odd K more. So you can get Chandler to a better player more than likely. So that's why I'd keep him. Jacob Van Rooyen, people are jumping off as well. Obviously, that ban was upheld. I still don't understand how they got upheld. I think Melbourne will appeal that decision, so I think there will be a hearing on Thursday. So fingers crossed he gets off that. But if he doesn't, he's a potential trade-out option. Break even of 40. He's not got a lot more cash to make unless he can pop a 60 or a 70 in the upcoming games, which if he did play against Hawthorn, he's got a good chance to potentially do something. So yeah, I'm not sure if he'll play or not. Hopefully he does, but yeah, I don't mind trading him because obviously he doesn't have a high ceiling and he's already made some okay cash. So you're going him down to a Drury, you're still making yourself 120k, which isn't too bad. And if you can go him down and someone up, then that's still a play. Luke Pedler, people are jumping off of. I'd be less inclined to jump off Pedler than some of these other guys here, but in saying that, if you can get the rookie off the field and you get a better player in, then I'm still ticking it off regardless. St Kilda's a good matchup. His lowest score of the year was a 45 against Geelong in Geelong. So if that's going to be his lowest score for the year, hopefully that big yawn got everything out. If that's his lowest score for the year, 45, then I think he's in pretty good stead. Bumping game time as well, which is good to see. So yeah, hopefully he can put up a good score against the Saints this week and reward coaches holding him. But again, if you're trading him out, I still tick it off. I tick off pretty much every rookie besides Sheasley you're trading out. Will Ashcroft, a bit the same thing. If you have already got rid of a Chandler and let's say you've only got a Ashcroft, Hollins, and Chincotta on field. Let's say that you're only 3 rookies on field. I'd still be happy moving off Ashcroft because Hollins has got cash to make still, and you probably is 120k less than Ashcroft, so you're not going to be able to get him to as good a player. And Chincotta's still making a lot of cash for a lot of coaches who got him on field. So if you can get Ashcroft up to a Brayshaw, a Laird, a Mills, someone like that, I just think maybe not Mills. I think if you're trading Ashcroft, you want to go him to a good player, that sounds bad for Mills, a good player, because Mills is a good player. But you're top of them, like your Dawsons, even at Doherty could even go. The guys like that, the top 6, top 8 midfielders, and yeah, so that would be where I'd get rid of Ashcroft. But you don't have to. He's got a good run coming up. I think he does normally score better at the Gabba, which I think he's got, 2 of his next 3? Yeah, so obviously Gold Coast and Essendon. Gold Coast, maybe, based on what they've been doing, might not be as good a matchup as what we thought. But at the venue, averaging 93. So what's he done at the Gabba? So yeah, a few of these 90s would, I think the Melbourne one was at the Gabba. Bulldogs at Marvel, Collingwood was at the Gabba, so 90, 76. They played North Melbourne, can't remember where that was. That might have been Marvel. Maybe not. I can't remember where that one was, actually. Mount Barker, of course it was, yeah, in Gatherant. Giants, that was... I don't think that was at the Gabba. And then the Fremantle one was at the Gabba, 115. So yeah, he's been good at the Gabba, so you could hold him for another couple of weeks. Philippou, 66 last week. If King does come back in, maybe that frees him up a little bit to go up the ground more. So I don't know if I'd be trading him. Again, if you can go him down and someone up, I'd still be ticking it off. But again, he could be held if he's on your bench. Cam McKenzie, you can trade him out. I just don't think he's going to come back in. Josh Ward being injured maybe means he does come in. But again, he can go. Judd McVie can go. Alan Davey can go. Brody Grundy, I think, can go. I didn't mean to highlight everything there. I think Grundy can go. 48, plays low game time normally with Grundy in the side. He just isn't a high scorer with Grundy in the side. So I'd be trading 100% after looking at that 40. I didn't actually realize he scored that low last week. Yeah, be getting rid of him. Cowan could come back in this week with Carlton losing. But apparently he didn't play very well in the VFL, so maybe he doesn't. So Rochelle, I'd still want one more look at him. I don't know what happened last week. I think Geelong and Geelong is what happened. But I'd like one more look. St Kilda's a good matchup. I'd still want to see him for another week. But again, if you're not confident that his midfield role is going to return, I still like trading him out. And then Will Phillips as well isn't coming back in, I don't think, anytime soon for North Melbourne. So I'd be trading him. So my top 5 targets for the week, I think for me, number 1. Who's the number 1? It's a good question because there's no obvious guy that you have to bring in this week. Because I would put Drury there, but then that sort of means he's a must-have really. That is the number one guy. So I don't think he is. Number 1. It's a really good question because this is a really hard week to rank because there's a lot of options that you could look at. I'll put Drury number 1. I'll put Blake Drury number 1. I just think with the lack of rookies we're getting through, and especially with good job security, I think it's pretty it's not vital that you get on it, but it's a pretty good idea to get on these rookies that have got good job security and that are going to be in the team because I think he's got good job security. I think he'll be in the team until the bye, and he's not going to score great. I think he's a bench option only, but I do like him as an option. So I'll put him at number 1. Number 2, because this is all dependent on people's teams and really where they're looking, because it depends on value. I'll put Callum Mills at number 2. I like the value at 800k, bringing him in and not paying a top dollar, and even if he goes at 105 for the next month or so, or through to because he's got round to a bye. If he can average you 105 up until round 16, if he's not top 8 midfielder, you can go him to a top 8 midfielder in after the buys. So I like getting him. He's an underpriced premium. These are the guys we look at. His last 2 weeks, he's gone at least 45% CBAs. I think he's more in the midfield, so I'd put him number 2. Number 3, I would put, and people are going to say this is biased to me, I'd put Rory Laird at number 3. I really would put Rory Laird at number 3. He's got St Kilda this week. Great matchup. He has looked a bit more back to his older self the last month. Look at that, 400s in a row. We talked about it on yesterday's video, the round review, the 3 scores. There's reasons for those bad scores. He's got at least 107 in every other game bar those 3. So I think this is where he's going to start really picking up. This is about the same time last year where people jumped on him, and he went really well from here on. So St Kilda this week. Bulldogs have been giving up points this year, so that's not a bad matchup. Mars has sometimes been kind for some players at Mars, but then other times have been not great. So would be interesting to see what happens there. Brisbane, Adelaide Oval isn't too bad. I don't expect a tag coming from these two here. The Saints send like a Ross to him. I would still tag Dawson. I still say this every week as a Crows fan. I think he's our best player. So I don't want anyone to tag either, because I want Crows to win. But I don't know why we're taking it. And then Gold Coast and West Coast here. He's got a pretty good run to his bye, and I think he's got a decent enough run for the rest of the year. So I think he's a great target. I don't think he's going to get much cheaper, if at all, cheaper than this. He looked good last week, got tagged by Atkins, and still was able to get him to 107, which early in the year he was getting 80s, whereas I think now he's getting these tackles. The 14 tackles last week was big, so I really like Rory Laird as an option for your teams this week. So he'd be my number 3 trade-in target this week. Number 4, I think I've got to put Andrew Brayshaw at number 4. I don't think I can't not have Andrew Brayshaw in my top 5 targets this week, because he's underpriced. He got a 1/5 last week, and if he doesn't get tagged in the next couple of weeks, like I'm predicting he will, but if he doesn't, he's going to still do well. And I think he can still get to a good enough score regardless because of his elite running. So I still do like him as an option. I would still rather Laird over him. So, yeah, and I think I'd rather the Mills one. I know I put Mills higher, but it's more for the value. But it just depends what sort of situation you're in. Yeah, so I'd put Brayshaw at number 4. Number 5, I'm going to probably say a couple of names here because I like a few of these options. Fiorini for the value, I like. If you still are happy to jump on him. If you haven't jumped on a Chincotta, you can still jump on him. Noah Anderson's expensive, but he's got the good buy. He's looked really, really good the last few weeks. Nearly won the game off his own boot on the weekend against Melbourne. So I do like him. I think I will sneak Will Powell in there, though, as number 5, as my outright number 5. Him or Fiorini, I think, would be probably my next two because, as I said before, I like the value of Will Powell. He's looked really good the last few weeks, and yeah, and people said he hasn't done it yet. He's had good games in the past, but then slowed down. He's only 24. Like he's not very. 23. This is his age 24 year. So he's still young. Like in these other years, he was essentially in his second and third years. So I think he's about to go big. I'm not saying he's going to average 100 for the whole year, but if he can average 90. I think it's a good pick because he's close enough to top 6 that gets you through the buys, and then you can upgrade him after the buy. So I like him as an option, and I'll put him at number 6. Obviously, if Josh Fay does come in, he could be one of the best targets to bring in this week. Just basement price and could be in. But again, I like waiting a week on these 200k rookies first, and then bringing them in because if they score 100, they'll go up 50k. But at least you then get a look at them, and then they're locked in compared to if you bring someone in at 200k. They get dropped, and then you've got a red dot. So, and at this time of the year, we can't afford to be jumping on red dots because you need all these players playing. So, they're my top 5. My trades this week, I'm looking at going Wilmot down to Blake Drury, and I think that will be even regardless if Faye gets named. And then I'll be going a Cade Chandler, swinging Zeeble back into my forward line, and going up to Will Powell. It's really good for my buys round 13. That means I'll be up to 3 players on the round 13 bolt, which is really good. If I can get one more Gold Coast player in or Geelong player in, that'd be really good. So that's why I'm potentially eyeing off Duncan in like 3 or 4 weeks' time, or probably 3 weeks' time for the buys, because he'll be really cheap. So there you go. That's what I'm doing. The other potential option I'm looking at is if I wanted, but this is probably a little bit real up and down. I'm looking potentially doing a Chandler down to Drury, fielding Pedler, and then going a Will Ashcroft up to Jordan Dawson because I need around 14 premium. They're the 2 options I'm looking at. I think I'd rather get Dawson next week and grab Will Power, who could make a lot more cash this week. So that's what I'm looking at doing. But they're my 2 sort of real options I'm looking at. But then, actually, no, hang on. If I get Dawson, I'm going to get Faye. I think I'm like 2k short of Drury and Dawson. So it's got to be Faye and Dawson. So that's probably my least favourite option. So there you go. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are doing with your trades this week. Or let me know if you've got any trade questions you'd like me to answer. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. These are the most popular videos for the week, so I do appreciate everyone's support that they do show on these videos. Make sure you leave a like if you are enjoying these videos. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bottom right hand corner, on our way to 2,000 subscribers, so we're slowly making our way there, but appreciate everyone's support as always. Turn notifications on so you miss when I go live or upload any other content in the future. And my social media links are in the description below. I'll be back, and I'll be back on, I think I'll be doing the live stream of the Twitter space on pre-lockout show. So make sure you get your questions in because I'll be answering questions live on YouTube and on Twitter with Tim Guest and probably a few other guys. So obviously Tim, me and him do the Fantasy Fanatic stuff. So a few other guests will get jumping on as well. Some really good coaches, and we'll be able to help answer your questions about an hour and a half before lockout, something like that. So might be a little bit earlier this week actually with actually no, hang on, it's weird, they've got 2 Friday night games this week. 6:50 is my time, so I'll probably do my Twitter space. I normally do it at 6 o'clock my time, so probably about 5:30. So for 6 p.m. Eastern is when we'll be doing the Twitter space. So I'll be live on YouTube at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Friday. So make sure you tune into that. Appreciate you guys tuning into this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. So I'm out. Cheers.